What's up? Thanks for coming back through. All right, so today we're going to be talking about the Puma DEVIATE Nitro 3. There's some similarities. There's actually so much similarity between the two shoes. It reminds me of something that Mr. Kayano, most people didn't know that the actual Asics Kayano was named after the designer. Mr. Kayano, when he designed that first Asics, he was not a fan of having to design a shoe year after year after year, because the idea was, I did it right the first time. As a designer, I designed the best possible shoe the first time we did it. So why do I need to redesign it next year? That comes to mind with this. And it's not that I don't like the shoe. I actually love the shoe. It's just so similar to the previous model that Mr. Kayano's words come into play. Why design another one simply because? Now, of course, we know the answer is to sell more shoes, to have people buy what was next and figure out if it's better, you know, what's in it, what's new, what, you know, the look, the style. Let's just get into it. Now, I am a huge fan. Actually, first off, we are going to be talking about the Puma DEVIATE Nitro 3. It must be said, I'm a huge fan of the Nitro line. I've got several models of all three levels. I've got the 1, I've got the 2, and now we've got the 3. The line has been consistent. The fit has been great. Love the uppers that they've had. And one very interesting thing that they've done is they have kind of piggybacked their technology to the next model and even up to the Elite model. I want to try to get my hands on the Elite 3, but, you know, price point, and I just bought these, so I'm like, oh, do I really need it? But for review purposes, yes. As I look at them, there are some things that they drew out of this shoe to put them into the Elite model and put this one down a peg into the everyday trainer. They shift so quickly where before there was ever a Nitro Elite, there was a DEVIATE Nitro that was the Elite model. This model went heads up with all the super trainers and got great reviews. The Puma grip, the plate, the uppers. This shoe was widely reviewed in a positive manner. And then, of course, you know, Elite must be eliter. So there was more that came out. When the 2 was released, that's where we saw more of a separation between the Elite Race Day model and the supposed everyday trainer that could go up to that point. Now that's all marketing, because just 2 years prior, a year and a half prior, they told you that this was the Elite model. They told you that this was their super shoe. So I want everyone to understand that yes, there are advances that happen, but oftentimes it is simply the marketing that's telling you, that shoe you had last year, not as elite as this one we're about to come out with. And then on top of that, we're going to have an Elite model that comes out before, you know, on top of that. This shoe is fantastic. This shoe is great, but they definitely brought it down into the daily trainer model. It's not as stiff as the 1. It's definitely stiff, and you get some of that energy back. It's got a carbon fiber plate. It's got the Puma grip, a slightly thicker padded collar. It sits a little bit more even, not as much of a rocker. There's things that they did to make this the daily trainer. And then, of course, Nitro foam. This one actually had the Nitro Elite foam in it. Crazy, right? So Nitro became Nitro Elite. They piggybacked that Nitro Elite foam, pushed it into the Elite model, and then brought back down this. The profile of the shoe really didn't change. The styling of the shoe really didn't change. This just happens to be the model that they brought out this year in comparison to the previous year. The Puma grip is still there. The bottoms are very similar. I actually looked at this one because the upper has a decided curve to it. You're getting a really, what seems like a drastic curve lasted shoe. But then I looked at the bottoms and I'm like, no, it's always been that way. The upper just has a slightly different style. So we're going to do this review a little bit in comparison, as we've already started to do, because the main thing on this has been some changes to the upper. Other than that, you're getting your nitro foam. You are getting your power plate. You are getting a very similar profile, a very similar feel. This one might feel a tad bit more narrow. So let's go through it, because there are some features that have moved up to the Elite, like the upper and the way that they've woven that upper midsole, outsole. Let's actually reverse that and go outsole, midsole, upper. We're going to talk about the outsole and the midsole because it's just a very brief conversation. It's everything you felt before. It's everything you've liked before. It's everything you like about the Puma DEVIATE Nitro line. This is bouncy. It's fast. It's very well cushioned. Great energy return. I know that there's a few changes in how this foam is administered. Daily trainer that can move up. It's got the plate. It's got the profile. It can move up into the Elite. You can run with it in your marathon, your 5K, whatever you'd like. But daily trainer wise, it's brought down into that everyday wear. That's great. And the price point is awesome too. When you're looking at a $160 American shoe, $160 US versus the $230 US of the Elite, you're getting something there. The landscape was crowded even before it got crowded within the brands. Each brand is starting to actually get crowded with what they want to do, and it's just more, bigger, stronger, faster, more. It's just what we do. Not a big fan of it. But that doesn't take away from the shoe. The shoe is fantastic. Midsole, outsole is what you're getting. 39 to 29, 10 millimeter drop. It doesn't really feel like that. There's not a lot of rocker geometry in this shoe. You're getting a pretty flat shoe in terms of the profile and the feel. You're getting a very supportive plate. Get some energy back. The nitro foam is great. It's everything we've already reviewed. You know it. You feel it right when you put it on. Let's talk about the upper, because that's where the majority of the changes are. The upper here is a lot less airy than this upper. The two had an ultra weave upper. Very, very airy. 2 layers of super airy fabric. This shoe here is a lot more traditional in its weave. It's breathable, but a little bit more traditional. The shoe is built shallower on the sides so that when you tie it, you get an immediate feeling of support around the shoe. There are some shoes that when you tie them, you can even see it here. Again, 1-to-1 comparison. The DEVIATE Nitro 2 is not as shallow. There's much more material. So when you go to tie this one, you can almost get this one completely closed. I don't like that in a shoe. I tend to like it when the shoe supports but doesn't come all the way closed and bunch up in the middle. They solved that issue here. I'm very happy about that. Kudos to that. The shoe does sit shallow across the top of your foot and toes right there. It's much more shallow than its predecessor, which has, again, much more fabric. You get the cat overlay. I love the jumping cat logo always. I love how they're doing this down onto the actual foam. Again, that's a little big, very similar to what Brooks did with theirs. But hey, talk your talk. Very padded collar. Seems almost identical to the previous model. So again, we're not looking at a ton of changes. These are cosmetic. They are not structural. Puma's been doing that for the last few years. Putting this little wing on the back. I'm not sure what it does. It definitely isn't really an aerodynamic component. I think it's just stylized. It looks aggressive and fast. And then the overlay of the Puma logo, which is really, really cool. If you get in tight, it's a bunch of little Puma logos. That's pretty cool. Oh, you know. You already know. Gusseted tongue, baby. Yeah. Thank you. Say no more. Puma, Thumbs up. Gusseted the tongue. Kept it down. Love it. The tongue is quite big and expansive. It's an asymmetrical tongue with padding at the top. So it's asymmetrical to the outside, I'm sure, to wrap and, you know, give some comfort there. Padding across where the laces will tie in their final position. But there's this strange sort of thing where they did an unfinished tongue. You can see right there, I could feel that pressing on my shin bone, just above my ankle. I wear a shorter, low-cut sock. That was kind of irritating. That open tongue, you know, that unfinished top portion of the tongue. I'm not sure. It doesn't cause any weight savings. It doesn't do anything. I think it's purely cosmetic. Maybe breathability, letting the heat transfer somewhere, but I don't really think so. That was an irritant. So that's something to be mindful of if you wear shorter than above the ankle socks. One component that they did bring, it's very similar to what On did with the Eclipse. They added this little strapping component there with some threading and a lace loop around the actual lace hole right at that midsection, and there's some fusing there. I don't know if the light can catch it. There's some fusing there meant to pull the upper up around your arch and midsection of the foot. I love that they're sticking with that sort of blaze orange and yellow colorway that they've had in the past with some of their initial release day models. So it's always fun to have that in the collection for that very first drop. It's a good one. I have no complaints. It's just not surprising. Now, some of you might view that as a negative. It's not. This is a fantastic shoe, and it's just not surprising that it's fantastic. You're going to love it if you've never run in it. You're going to dig it. If you have run in it, you know what to expect. It's very, very close to this model. I'm going to put it through its paces. Already had a couple workouts in it and some all-day coaching clinics in it. I'm going to take it on my next trip. I'm traveling to coach at the U.S. Paralympic Trials and the Masters Pan Ams over in Cleveland. So it's going to get a lot of work, and we'll see how it does. Thank you for coming back through. I appreciate it so much. There'll be another. Let me know in the comments. Should I pick up the Elite and give it a try? Maybe. Man, I've been spending a lot on these shoes, y'all. I don't know. All right, peace.